to give this sister a proper introduction. You know, we don't bring people into the Dr. Don radio show raggedy. We don't make you sit on the plastic couch like grandma used to. We make you feel comfortable. So I have to give this sister a proper introduction, honey. Gotta give her a proper introduction. She is, look, I met her once, and I tell you, I love when you meet people once and it's like, we got to have them on the show, right? But we got to give her a proper introduction, I'm telling you. But Jamie R. Wright, she is an award-winning domestic violence survivor, advocate, resilience and encouragement speaker, and an advocate and a coach. But we are glad to have Jamie, my story of resilience and healing after domestic violence. Welcome, Jamie R. Wright. How are you, girl?
Dr. Don, I am grateful. I am doing good on purpose.
Hey, purpose. You said that. We're not here for popularity. We're here for purpose.
That part. Exactly, that part.
And you know what? We hadn't got to this yet, but I'm going to just bring it up because we can, right? People may see you, and we look at a lot of people's lives, right, Jamie? And we're like, oh my gosh, you know, I want to be Jamie. She looks so glamorous. She has it going on. This beautiful one. You want to walk what she walked? You want to be on my show because of that? You know what I mean? You don't know where people have walked, right, Jamie?
You're absolutely right, Dr. Don. Yeah, so it's that saying, never judge a book by its cover. Is so absolutely true. It's so incredibly true. And especially when we're talking about in the faith arena, because we know
Oh,
our creator restores us, right?
yeah.
And so oftentimes some of us, if I could be so bold to say, a lot
It's
of
no judgment, just realness. Do it.
that thank you
Yeah.
for me permission for that.
Yeah.
In the faith arena, especially as believers, a lot of us have gone through things, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, it's only through the restoration of our creator that we do not look like what we've been through. And so, yeah, no, I make it a point, Dr. Don, to put my life on display because I'm always cognizant of the fact that I'm marketing for my creator,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
those days that the trauma that I'm assuming we'll talk about those days that the trauma
Oh yeah.
creeps up because I can't rip it out of my life. The days
Mm.
that it creeps up and it wants to hold me in the bed for 3 days at a time and allow me to want to feel sorry for myself. I think about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm marketing for my creator. I don't get the right to stay in bed. Now I can go to bed,
Mm.
but I
Yeah.
don't get the right to stay in bed. And so I get up, I put my makeup on, I put my Sunday best on,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on where I'm going, and I go and make it a great day on purpose.
And you put your piece on.
Come on, that shield piece. My auntie just told me that. She
Yeah.
said, Jamie, we've got to protect our. She's like, you got to hold that peace shield.
Wow.
Peace shield. Yeah.
I tell you. Now, Jamie, I tell you, how do we just gonna talk about it because I'm telling you, and you see me when I'm leaning back in my chair. I know it's gonna be good. This is It's No Judgment, Just Realness, people. Jamie is sharing her testimony, which many of you may be living. Now, Jamie, we got to start with this question. Tell your testimony and the domestic violence that you endured, experienced, sister. Tell us.
Yeah. So, wow, Dr. Don. In 2018, I lived in Dallas at the time. I'd been living in Dallas for about 12 years.
Okay.
It was really, truly the highlight of my life.
Okay.
I found a hobby. My children were adults. I was living by myself for the first time in a very long time. And so I met this amazing man in the Dallas Fort Worth area and
Mm,
thought for the first time in my life that I was going to live this amazing life that I've been dreaming of since I was a little girl.
yeah.
The man that I met, I oftentimes used to say was, but I'm like, no, he still is.
Mm,
He is an ordained minister.
mm,
He retired military firefighter, tall, dark, super handsome. So
yeah.
you could not tell me anything about this man that swept me off my feet.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a quality man that I was like, he wants me. in spite of coming home pregnant at 13 years old. And by the time I was 19 years old, had been pregnant 4 additional times,
Mm.
divorced previously, just act, my childhood was not a good one at all. So a lot of my young adult decisions and my childhood and teen decisions came from a place of being sexually mishandled, looking for love, just all that stuff, right? So in 2018, I was like, wow, I'm finally gonna find, feel the love from this man that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
Fast forward in 2020, we
Mm.
exchanged vows in the Fort Worth, Texas area.
Okay. You
And
exchanged vows. You married him. Okay.
yes, so
Okay.
and this is how good our Creator is.
Okay.
We exchanged vows. COVID happened, and so our marriage license was never technically filed. It
Oh
was
wow.
pushed off, in every, in March, everything, courts, all that shut down. But absolutely, we have family and friends come in
Yeah.
from all the way to
Wow. Mm.
DC. His Some of his family came from the area that he's from.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a beautiful, very beautiful, intimate wedding in the Fort Worth area on February the 20th, 2020.
The
I
month of
mean,
love.
yeah, the month. So
Yeah.
everything was right, right?
Yeah.
Everything was right. I moved here to Houston, Texas, not knowing a soul other than my pastor at the time. Um, Shout out to Pastor Dr. Ronald Eagleton for that man.
All
He was
right.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And my hairstylist, um, February 2020 passed. April of 2023, I was homeless at the Houston area women's shelter.
Mm. Now wait a minute. Wait a minute. So now the abuse started when in Dallas.
Oh yeah, and
Okay.
and thank you for teasing
Talk
that out.
about that. Let's go back to that
Yeah.
because so you married him, right? Even though let's forget the license wasn't and all that. So you married him. Did he abuse you before the marriage and the engagement, or was it after the marriage?
No, it was absolutely before. It was 3 months into our dating.
Ah,
The
okay,
first time
okay,
that he took me by my neck and he shook me.
okay.
And it happened so fast, Dr. Don, and it was so inconsistent of who I knew him to be that I was really in shock for about 2 days. I was like, that didn't have and
Mm,
I literally had to process it, right?
yeah,
Well, after processing it all through lots and lots of therapy, what I recognize and what I have to stand true and hold true to is
yes,
I was exposed to violence as a little girl.
okay.
There was oftentimes that my sister, I have one sibling. Oftentimes, my sister and I would go to bed with my mom screaming for help,
Mm,
hearing my stepfather hit my mom.
yeah.
Even as a little girl, my sister and my mom and I, we went to a shelter in the Oklahoma area where I'm originally from. There was another occasion where we went and stayed with my beautiful aunt and my uncle in the Arkansas area. And it was all as a result of my mom not being able to leave my abusive stepfather.
Yeah.
So, fast forward in my own life, what I realized through lots of therapy is that I was conditioned for the physical, verbal, and mental abuse. So when it
Mm,
started in 2018, Dr. Don, I believed that when he said that he was going to not hit me again, I believed that,
yeah.
right? And I overstepped it because there was parts of me that a thought that's what love looked like.
Yeah. Because that's what you were raised around.
That's what I was raised
Again,
around.
generational behaviors. Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on. B, lacking the love for myself that I needed to
Yeah.
stand up for myself and make the best decision for myself. Everybody's decision is different.
That's right.
And C, and this has been heavy, but it's brought me so much freedom, is asking my partner at the time to do something for me that I couldn't do for myself, and that was, or did not do for myself. I was asking him to love and respect me, Dr. Don,
Mm,
but I
but you
didn't
didn't
love and
even.
respect myself.
You wanted him to give you what you didn't even. You have to first have it for yourself. But and let me say this, people. She's not the only one. We're going to talk about that. Now, Jamie, I have to tell people to backtrack
Yeah.
because and The thing is, people are here to give it's no judgment, just realness. Because I know when I'm interviewing survivors, Jamie, it triggers. It can trigger. Uh, so we're gonna be respectful, but we got to I got to fill in some gaps, Jamie.
That's it. That's a beautiful point too, and thank you for bringing that up. And
Yeah,
you should say this. I mean, this conversation will be triggering, and
yeah.
please take care of yourself, whatever that looks like. For me, oftentimes I go out and just put my bare feet on the grass just to get
Mm,
back and ground myself back with the earth. I'm
yeah.
always try to stay in a spiritual realm. So please,
Amen.
listeners, viewers, take care of yourself because this stuff is heavy. It's triggering. However, I'm telling you, if we continue to push through it, there's beautiful freedom on the other side.
Mm. Now, Jamie, he hit you the first time. The abuse, it was he put his hand around your neck,
He put his hand around my neck. He choked me, and as he was choking me, he shook me.
shook you.
That was 3 months into the relationship.
Then how long after that?
Um, about 2 weeks after that, that happened in Houston. 2 weeks after that, we're in Dallas at my house,
Okay.
and he took my wrist and he got mad because I DFW swing out dance. That is
Okay.
my hobby,
Okay.
Dr. Don. I love to swing out dance. Right?
Yeah.
We went to an event. I swung out, was dancing like I normally do. Got back to the table. He was like, "Let's go." And I
Mm,
could tell like I could tell the rage that he had before. It was like creeping up, and I reminded him
mm,
on the way back to my house, like, there you go again. I'm getting scared. Like, what's going on? And so he didn't physically hit me in the car, but I'm telling you, he was verbally abusive. I was a bitch.
mm-hmm,
I was just all these bad words. Right? We get to my house, and he takes my wrist and he
mm,
starts shaking my wrist, and eventually my whole body started to shake
mm.
and bounce up against my hallway wall.
Wow.
That was 2 weeks after the 3 months.
Mm,
In the meantime of all of this, the verbal abuse, I didn't realize it was verbal abuse at the time, but now I know it definitely kept, I mean, it just
it
kept,
escalates.
it escalated.
Yeah. Now, after this, he proposes, and I'm just
We were
making us
engaged.
understand the timeline, right?
Absolutely.
Not in a way to make you feel bad about anything. We just want to get the timeline because there's someone out there, Jamie, they're going through what you're going through, and maybe they've just been proposed to. She's telling you people. So he proposes. How long after that?
Oh, we were engaged.
Oh, okay.
We were engaged,
Okay.
Dr. Dawn, about a month a month after we met. So he
Oh, okay.
proposed after the first physical abuse. So we were engaged by the time he took me by my wrist
Hmm.
and he shook me up against the wall. We were engaged. I
Okay.
mean, it was definitely it happened fast.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that he held over me. He's like, if you want to be somebody's wife, you wouldn't drink this and you wouldn't wear this and you wouldn't go that way. But absolutely, we were engaged and the abuse still.
Yeah. But then you realize you don't have to be a wife to be relevant as a woman. You
I do
single wife,
now.
right? You do now. But the thing is, and see, here she is laughing about it. We're not. I mean, that's how you know it's some healing that has taken place. Now we just saw Tina Turner, rest in peace, right? I mean, my goodness, the this, and if you've seen the Tina Turner movie when she said, "Man, Ike was dealing with some brokenness," we know that, right? What kind of background did this pastor have? Did he come from an abusive household? What was
You
his background?
That's puzzling, especially now that I'm an accidental advocate, is what I call myself, meaning that I'm in the community sharing awareness. I'm in the world sharing awareness. So I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all kinds of different stories. And that's what puzzles me about him, Dr. Don, is because his family leads on as if there was no abuse growing up.
How do you know? I mean, for all we know, what happens in the house, it had to have come from, it had to be something,
Something, right?
right?
There's some root cause.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I'm not the only one that he was abusive to, per
Mm,
his family.
okay.
So I'm not quite sure, other than um, he did go to war. He's a Gulf War veteran, and I was helping him receive treatment. Like,
Okay.
and I say receive treatment. I was making it okay for him to get therapy,
Mm,
we were getting therapy, relationship therapy, and then that helped him lean into getting individual therapy. So other than the war, I mean, that's what puzzles me, Dr. Don. But my research and everything now, I know that statistics shows that abuse is a learned behavior.
Yes. And we don't want to put, look, I know veterans who are dealing, but they don't all do that. Right?
Exactly.
They're not all. So, like you said, it had to be learned from somewhere. Maybe his family's in denial. But either way, that's not here nor there. Now, we're talking about that, but Jamie, one of the, we all see, the most insensitive things that people can ask. What was it that you stayed? Yes, generational behaviors. Yes, you thought it was normal. But was it shame? Did you ever try to tell someone and they were like, "Oh no, he's a good man," or "Girl, I mean, what what did you deal with while you were with him? Did you try to tell someone and maybe they were insensitive? Because I want people to know who have not been abused, how sometimes how we respond can make a victim stay in a place of shame.
Oh, that's a beautiful question, and it's kind of loaded, Dr. Don. But and I would say this: I was trying to keep up an image,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
With the belief system that it was eventually going to change because we were going to pray it away.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So it and going, it wasn't shame at the time. It was shame when I went to the homeless shelter.
Okay.
But in the relationship, in the marriage, it wasn't shame. It was keeping up an image with the belief that it would change, with nothing really happening that would disrupt the behavior to cause a change.
Yeah.
I did reach out to I reached out I reached out to two churches
Okay.
the first time that I reached out for help. One
Mm.
did not respond at all.
Wow.
And then the other church, which I'm just going to say it, it was the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas.
Mm.
They have a counseling ministry. They reached back out to me,
Okay.
and a lady was amazing. And
Okay.
she walked me through. This was the first time that I reached out to the faith based community because I wasn't going to like that. I just wanted the abuse to stop, Dr. Don. I didn't want him to go to jail. I didn't want to leave. I
Mm.
wanted the abuse to stop. So she helped me unpack what was going on. And as a result of that, I did call the engagement off.
Okay.
But then I went back, and what I know, I went back and I married him. And what I know now is there is room not just for the Potter's House. There's room for the faith based, specifically the Black community. There is room for improvement of how we support. And I'll
Right.
give you an example. It's not it's not always a good thing to tell someone to leave. Statistics show
Yeah.
that the at the point that a survivor tries to leave, and I try not to use the word victim unless a brother or sister has lost their life to domestic violence, because then they don't have a choice, right?
Okay.
That so when at the point the survivor chooses to leave, statistics shows that that there is an increased risk of their lives being taken.
And I'm glad you said that because many times we refer to them as victims, even myself. But I had someone come on with a domestic violence survivor, and they said we should call them what we want them to be. She said the word thriver. So I
Right.
like that you have corrected us, a survivor. So even when they're in that state, we call them survivors, Jamie. That's what we should refer them
Oh,
to.
absolutely. Because you
Okay.
think about it, Dr. Don, and thank you for bringing and lifting that up. Because you're someone surviving a abusive relationship, especially suffering in silence.
Yes,
That
yes.
person, you think about it, they're one of the most strongest individuals on this earth because they have to get up every single day
Mm,
in the face of what's going on. Studies show that specifically and especially here in the Houston area, but worldwide, Black women have the highest rate of domestic violence cases, right? So 46% of the population look like me and you. Well, we
mhm.
know what me and you have to do. We have to get up, we got to show up, and
Oh,
we have to
yes.
we have to be right, and then we go home, and I'm talking about any survivor at this point. Then
Yeah.
we go home, and then we have to be cognizant of our mate's triggers. What's going to trigger them to cause them to physically, verbally, mentally lash out? So absolutely, they're surviving. They're surviving each and every minute of the day because they don't know what's going to happen.
That's
I mean, and we know. I mean, and we don't know, and that's why I'm so grateful to be on your show, Dr. Don, is because we've got to have these conversations because some of us just don't know.
and this is why the education is important. Sometimes I have therapists, doctors come on. Sometimes I have people just come and share their testimony. But they all say the same thing, Jamie, and they all are giving back. And that's what I love. They all are giving back in some way. Either they are a trauma coach, or like yourself, they're an advocate, right? And it's just it's they're giving back and they're educating. And this is the thing, Jamie, I want to ask you. Now, here we are. The abuse is going on. You all moved to Houston, or you left him and decided to. When was your breaking point when you said, I cannot tolerate this anymore? I got to get out of here.
When I thought he was gonna kill me, and I
Mm.
thought that my children was going to have to bury me
Mm.
as a result of me saying something to him that he did not like.
You want to talk about that?
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is the blessing. I went to the Houston Area Women's Center. I had one change of clothes in my
Mm.
work computer because what I was going to do is just let everything cool off, and I was going back home to my husband.
Okay.
It was COVID. This was April 23rd of 2020. I was like, I'm not staying in a homeless shelter. I don't even know these people,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not going to catch COVID. So I go to the shelter that night, and the only reason why I was able to go to the shelter is I was able to physically climb on a top bunk.
Wow.
The shelter was full. They said, Miss Wright,
And during COVID, we know they and Jamie, you can confirm this, yes or no. They said the COVID, I mean the abuse cases went up. They're at home with the abuser
yeah,
all day, or the abuser maybe had lost their job during that time. It's a lot of tension. The kids are at home too. Just So yeah. Go ahead. I
yeah,
can imagine. My goodness.
absolutely. And the significance of the violence, the
Yeah.
egregiousness of it increased too,
Yeah.
studies show.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to climb on the top bunk, get there that night. That next morning, I'm in like just robotic mode. Go and
Mm-hmm.
talk to my caseman or my caseworker. The caseworker told me to go talk to, or recommended me go talk to a psychotherapist.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Don, I coexist with mental health conditions, but I had
Mm-hmm.
never heard of a psychotherapist in my entire life.
Yeah.
So when this the caseworker was like, "Go," I'm like, "Psychotherapist? What in the world?" But at this point, I'm just in just survival mode, and I go. The
Yeah.
psychotherapist is the one that helped me start to unpack that I would
Amen.
rather die from COVID than to die from my partner taking my life. And what she said to me was, she gave me two options. She said, I said, I need you to tell me how to go back home. She
Wow.
said, absolutely, because it's all about empowering the survivor, meaning doing what's best for them based on what they want. Kind of like what you said, the therapist call them what you want them to be. So she
Yeah.
said two things. She said, we can create a safety plan, and hopefully we'll talk about that because I did not know
Oh
what it
no, that's going to be what we're going to talk about too. You have to have a safe plan of action,
was.
especially if it has been for so long.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Didn't know what a safety plan was,
yeah.
right? But she said, we're going to create you a safety plan. And in that safety plan, you need to know his triggers. Dr. Don, I didn't even know
Wow.
what triggers was.
And
And I'm
hold
and I'm
on.
40 years old at this time. Like I'm not that, and I have formal education. Did not know what a trigger was.
Wow, 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 wow. Now let's go back because we have to hear it. Now you thought you were going to die. Your kids thought you were going to die.
So my girls were in Dallas, so they did
Okay.
not know. No one in my family knew what was going on.
Okay.
I knew, but
Okay.
they didn't know.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. My girls are adults. I'm like my adult children were going to have to bury me.
It got that bad.
Oh, absolutely it did.
Mm.
He hit me in the face with my laptop and knocked my teeth loose.
Oh my goodness. Now, did you just immediately leave the house, or did you leave in the middle of the night?
I ran out the house. I was scared
Okay.
of
Okay.
no, I ran out the house and I ran across the street, the green belt in the Kingwood area, ran in the woods and I called 911.
Okay. We need to know that.
Yeah,
We
call
need to know
911.
that. Now, so you were at the Houston, but you said, I've got to get out of there. You were homeless, but you went to the Houston Area Women's Center.
Yes, ma'am. And
S- Yeah.
let me put this part in.
Yeah.
Dr. Pastor Ronald Eagleton at Mount Rose Church of God in Christ is the one that helped me realize
Oh,
that I needed to leave. Because
amen.
we called on him. When I say we, my partner and I called on him with the expectation, my expectation, I can't speak for him,
Yeah.
that he was going to pray this away.
Mm. In the church, and let me say this, the church is doing, and look, I'm a Christian. We love the Lord, right? But all the church knows how to do is church. So now the church is realizing you need mental health professionals on staff. You need a domestic violence ministry, not just the benevolence ministry, the bereavement ministry. You have women sitting on the front row who are getting beat by deacons. You have women who are being beat by your associate pastors. You've got to address it. Sunday school teachers getting beat. It's going on in the house of God. People are coming for healing. You have people in the community. It is no longer just the bereavement and we gonna feed the people. It is time for these resources, people, because if we are not educated, we could put someone in the wrong direction. You can't pray it away, but the church knows how to church. They're not counselors, therapists, they're pastors, and all they've been doing is pastoring. And some, like you said, Jamie, you called, but they didn't call back. Could be because they didn't know what to say or what to do.
That's
We've
it.
got to start having phone numbers. We've got to, if you don't have that on staff, have a list of resources because people need it if you don't know what to do. Go ahead. I just had to add that in.
No, you beautifully said, beautifully said. And I think from a spiritual standpoint, the creator is allowing that thing right there to happen.
Mm,
I know that my story is a testament to give specifically our community the permission to start having these hard conversations
yeah,
to get the tools that are needed to do exactly what you just said do. Because
yeah,
what I know for certain is that when I look back at my own childhood, everyone in the church knew that my sister and I was getting abused.
wow.
They knew, but what I realized is that they don't. I don't think that they knew how to, like you said, support us.
They don't have the
They
resources.
didn't
They
have the
don't
resources.
know.
They
Yeah,
didn't have the resources.
Katie, I'm sorry, Jamie. Katie says, "Amen." Thank you for watching, Katie. It's yeah. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you for watching, tuning in, sis. Yeah, but that's the thing, and it's the fact that we have to continue having these conversations and not from a condemning standpoint,
Right,
Doctor.
absolutely not. We're just saying what's going on and
But
how we need to address it
address it.
because now God has given us a wake up call. We can't ignore it. What are we going to do about it? That's
That's
all we're saying.
that's all. That's
Yeah,
it. That's it. Like you said, no judgment.
that's right.
Even when you're, and this is the path that I'm on now. In addition to advocating,
Hmm.
we've got to provide readily available resources for the people who cause harm, Dr. Don. Because what we
Mm,
know is that hurt people. But what
yes,
we also know, like what we're doing tonight, is heal people.
that's right.
Studies show that abuse is a learned behavior. So
Yes.
guess what? If it's learned, it can be unlearned.
Oh,
We
yes.
cannot unlearn it if that's a word.
Yeah,
We don't if we're acting like it doesn't exist. And
that's
so
right.
that's why we have to open up the conversation for the people and provide emotionally safe spaces for the people that cause the harm. to say
That's
come over
powerful.
here from a restorative. There's this whole niche or this whole phenomenon happening called restorative and transformative justice.
Mm,
In the high level notion, Dr. Don, is that we have to create another mechanism for solving violence and crime other than the criminal justice system, because the criminal justice system just causes more crime to happen.
and
Right?
there's no real therapy. I mean, and are they really rehabilitating
That's it.
in prison? Kathy Tatum, thank you, sister. She puts up purple hearts. Thank you, Kathy. A strong worker in our community.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, you know Kathy too.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
good
Yes.
people know good people.
Yes. We didn't
That's
take
what
that
I
chance
always
together
say.
in the Fifth Ward. Absolutely.
Oh yes, honey. Now, so Jamie, here we go. And that's powerful. You said that the abuser they need healing. Can the abuser change?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you
Absolutely.
know any abusers? They have abused and now they no longer are abusing a woman, and women abuse too, right? And they went through therapy, counseling, and now they're in a healthy relationship.
I do not. But however,
Hmm.
I will work until my creator calls me home to champion for them to get the help, because I don't know anyone other than my stepfather
Say it.
that has apologized
Mm,
to me specifically for what he did
mm,
for me and my sister as children.
wow.
And so that leads me to believe there is hope
Mm,
that had he got the healing, and he's dealing with demons of his own that he shared with me, and it's not my story to share, so I won't, but it did explain why he was the way that he was.
mm,
So Dr. Don, it leaves me with a glimpse of hope that had my stepfather had the help that he deserved to get
mm,
rid of his, to not get rid, to work through his own demons, because where we were was the rural parts of Oklahoma. So he
yeah.
beat the snot out of my mom, and my mom would call the sheriff, and the sheriff would come. He'd run in the woods, girl, and then he would come back in the house after the sheriff left. So I think
Yeah.
about, had someone interrupted that, a licensed professional interrupted that, me and my sister's childhood could have looked very different.
My goodness.
And I hold on to the hope because of what he shared with me and the heartfelt apology that he gave me.
Do you want to share that, or it's
Yeah.
private?
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. So um his mom passed, my grandmother, my bonus grandmother passed not too long ago. And here's how beautiful the creator works. Before I even met my ex,
Mm,
I had went to my stepfather to open up the conversation, to get healing so that I could attract healthy love in my life. So he started unpacking that he had some trauma that was never
addressed.
addressed
Hmm.
professionally. It was addressed with crack cocaine,
Mm, wow.
right? He unpacked that for me, that we would call it trauma bonding now,
Hmm.
that my mom and him trauma bonded. They were both abused as children,
Yeah.
and they bonded that way.
Yeah. Their
And
pain. It's sometime that is the attraction. They both were hurt. Well, I mean, it's real. Go ahead, Jamie.
yeah, and when he unpacked the abuse that he experienced as a child, it made sense. And then he was like, Jamie, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. And he explained to me how he got addicted to crack cocaine. And then he tried to re-enter my life by
Mm,
saying, I'm here if you need advice for, dating and all of that. I'm here. And I said, thank you. And I backed away. Well, his
yeah.
mom, fast forward, passed away. My grandmother passed away. My bonus grandmother passed away about 6 months ago. I seen him at the service,
Wow.
and he cried this time.
Wow. Wow. Powerful about forgiveness, Jamie.
That's it.
My
And I
goodness.
dare not be a believer, call myself a believer,
Amen. Oh,
and not
hallelujah.
find it in my human self to look into his human self
My goodness.
and not forgive him. And so that's the space that I operate from now. And that's the hope that I hold on to, that a person that is causing harm, that if they're given the support and tools to unlearn the behavior, to work through the harm that they're causing that might go back to their childhood
Yeah.
when they were harmed, I hold on to that hope, and I will absolutely champion for any person that's willing to do the work and restore themselves so they can restore the person that they caused harm to.
Sexual abusers.
He was one.
Wow. Sexually abused you
Yeah, oh yeah. My
and
sister,
physically abused you.
oh yeah, yeah, oh yes. Emotionally and everything. He's a convicted sex child sex. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It is. You talk about let me tell you, when I started to learn to forgive, Jamie, I was hosting this event year after year. It's Survivors with Voices. Shout out to Alyssa. And I would host every year, and the organization gives survivors a voice. They come on, they share their story. And there was somebody who I hadn't forgiven, just resentment. It was, I was looking good, but I still had that dark in my heart about. And it was about year 3, and this is what I told him. I kid you not. It was year 3 or 4 I was hosting, and a breakthrough happened. And I said, "Don't even pay me this year." And it wasn't no $5. Okay. And I said, "Y'all bless me." That year, I said that because that is when I started. I was encouraged to forgive. These people are up here year after year talking about the sexual abuse they endured, and they forgave the person who abused them. They forgave the mama who allowed it to happen. I didn't deal with sexual abuse. If they can forgive that person, I can forgive over here. Forgiveness is powerful. I think when I talk to a survivor who has been through like you, and if you say we can forgive, we all can learn something from that. Not to say what you have been through, other people listening, it wasn't hurtful. But if Jamie is forgiven, if other people have forgiven their those who have sexually, physically abused them, we can start the process. You all, I tell you, we hear turn the other cheek, forgive, but it's easier to read the word than apply it when it comes to that kind of pain, right, Jamie?
Oh, absolutely.
Was your process therapy, counseling? What was it? Because you're sitting telling us, and I'm gonna ask you, do you work with those who are abusers?
I'm posturing myself now. I'm actually going to Austin, Texas next week
Okay.
to be trained to start that process.
To
Absolutely.
help the abuser.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
I would like to bring, well, when the Lord leads, and when you are ready, and when maybe, after some time when it's right, because we always do things in God's divine order, and we don't want to ever put anyone in a position until they're ready, right? But I would love to have you and that individual who has abused come on and talk about their process for how they no longer abuse. Do it. I'm putting it out there publicly. I would like to do that. I need to talk to somebody who says I was an abuser and I no longer do it.
Come on. The Holy Spirit is amazing. You just confirmed what was put on my heart about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We have to reach before we teach, though, right?
Wow.
And so, yeah, and I am intentional. I am intentional about going to get the tools to, because
Wow.
here's the thing, Dr. Don, we can we can set in the shame and the trauma and sit there, or we can set in the shame and the trauma and then intentionally say, okay, how do we solve it? How do we close
Yes,
the
yes.
gap so that my soon to be grandchildren,
Won't do that.
come on.
Won't. Now, let me say this, people. We are not saying to stay with an abuser. And even after they meet with Jamie, we not saying stay with the abuser, take them back, wait for it to stop. That's not what we saying. This is that's a totally different show and conversation.
Absolutely. Because what happens, Dr. Don, is if we don't provide resources to the people that cause harm, they're gonna cause harm to
That's
somebody
right. But in
else.
no way are we saying stay and see if they take the healing, right? We ain't saying that.
You have you have to make the decision, hopefully with prayer and a
Right.
licensed professional that's
That,
best for you. But like in my case,
yeah.
my ex I wasn't the first woman that he abused. If you seen him right now, Dr. Don, you would not think, just like we started the conversation, judging a book by a cover, you would not think that this man causes harm. And I'm trying to shift my language even around that, right?
Yeah.
I try not to say abuser and perpetrator.
That's what he was, though, wasn't he? What do you
Um,
refer to him as?
the person that caused me harm or my partner, only because, and I started this when this young lady came up to me and was actually at one of Amber's events,
Mm,
and she shared with me that her father is doing life in prison for killing the father of her children for abusing her.
mm,
So that led me on this journey of just being mindful of that. At least 50%, and Bishop says this in terms of the 50% of a child, Bishop T.D. Jakes, at least 50% of those children, Dr. Don, are their father.
mm.
And although, and not in absolutely not making it okay with with the
Absolutely.
person that caused harm, not doing that. However, being cognizant of the way that we approach the situation to solve the problem.
I like that you are talking about solve the problem because, and that gives me a wake up call as well. I love how God has spoken to you and maybe no other survivor about that, because anytime I interview survivors, we ain't worried about the abuser. But if we don't address it, who else are they going to be? But the abuser has to want to come in, and they have to know it's a problem. They have to acknowledge it, and they have to be open.
You nailed it.
Now, let's talk about a safe. But I love that you said that. But I would love to do a future show if you have a partner, former. We don't. I'm going to take your lead on that, right?
But we have to make those disclaimers like you're doing though.
Yeah.
Don, we're not saying what they did is okay.
Absolutely, we're not saying it's okay, but I would like to talk to the individual who has done the abuse and say, okay, how do we, because I'm gonna ask some hard questions, but not to put them back to where they want to, but how do they know you've changed? Time will tell. How are you controlling those triggers? How are you making sure that when she says something, you're not gonna go off? What is the process, brother or sister, for you making sure that you are not abusing again? Are
That's
you
it.
continuing to do therapy? So we're gonna ask those hard questions when the Lord leads and when you are ready and when that individual is
It,
ready, Jamie.
and in the meantime,
Yeah.
there is a beautiful young man named Kay Scott. He is employed with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. We were talking about beautiful Thesis Jenkins before we
Oh
came on
yes,
the
yes,
show.
yes.
Kay Scott, the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council brought him on so that he could start to reach the people that causes harm. But this brother, you might consider having him on your show. This brother
Okay.
said something so powerful a couple of weeks ago when we were in a meeting. He said as a part of his strategy, he's going to help people that cause harm. The power and control wheel.
Yeah.
There's a power and control wheel that the Duluth model, the domestic violence movement, pays
Okay.
close in particular attention to. Right?
Okay.
It's just basically it outlines the background of why someone abuses, that they
Okay.
want the power and control. Well,
Okay.
Kay Scott says that he's going to work with individuals to move that power and control wheel to the equity wheel. And there's an
Oh, wow.
equity wheel out there, you all, that talks about that helps people that have problems with power and control learn what it looks like to have equality in a relationship.
Mm. Forward this interview to him when I send it to you. And if he's down after he watches this interview, he can see the spirit, how we interview. I'd love to tell him to reach out. We're good. Or send me his information too. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in the meantime, of God and I working on our, absolutely, I definitely will.
I would love to talk about that. Now,
Yeah,
people, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Some of you have already showed Jamie love. Jamie, I'm telling you, look, we had talking points, but you got to let the Lord lead the conversation. Now, let's talk about safe plan of action. When we say, girl, come to my house, is that a good idea? If he knows where you live, your friend, he knows where you live. It might not be a good idea. Give us some tips on a safe plan of action for
mm,
a survivor.
absolutely. Beautiful question, Dr. Don. A safety plan is in a safe plan of action is having a group of tangible steps that you will take that will get you out of harm's way when the violence starts to get physical or to the point where it's going to break you down. And
Okay.
you know it. Typically don't want. Well, I won't say. Okay, let me. So the plan of action should include people that you know you can trust,
Okay.
that is not going to judge you, and yes,
Yes,
that you're not going to put potentially in harm's way.
that's right.
Um, there's the 800. There's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's a 1-800
And
hotline.
I already had it in the
Boom. Dr.
absolutely.
Don, you are amazing. I recommend people reach out to that organization because they have trained advocates and they have resources all over the United States of America. These people, Dr. Don, they are trained to help a survivor put together a safety plan,
Mm.
right? And they ask a series of questions and things like that. So I don't want to make it so cut and dry, like it's like, oh yeah, don't do this and don't do that. These
Because different
everybody's
situations
different.
require a different plan. It's not cookie cutter.
Yes, ma'am, you nailed
Yeah.
it. So I would, I have started to always suggest people reach out to the domestic violence hotline. If you're in the Houston area, there's the Houston area Women's Center hotline.
And
I
we
mean,
have this ready.
right. So these are the people, men and women, that's what they do for a living. That's what they do to fulfill their purpose on the earth. That is
Yeah.
what they do to feed their families. They know
Yes.
what to do. And so I would recommend that they whoever is surviving domestic violence. And here's the thing, the National Domestic Violence Hotline even has resources for people who's causing harm. Reach
Mm.
out to these people because I'm not an expert, Dr. Don. I'm just a survivor that
Who's educating and who's still, yeah.
that refuses to sit down and shut up because I
Amen.
want to see my community thrive without violence.
Why is it our community is it a higher, the numbers are higher in our
Oh, that's
community?
a whole nother. So now, so when I transitioned out of the shelter, I went back to school. And
Okay.
I got a post baccalaureate certificate in women in politics.
Okay.
And during my course of study, I looked at that's how I started learning about restorative justice and in the intersections of poverty and racism and oppression. It started out like with my studies looking at the suffrage movement. But anyway, make a long story short, I believe just from my point of view,
Yeah, yeah,
I've never been anything other than a black woman. I've
yeah.
never dated anything other than a black man. I honestly think there's two fundamental root causes. One, our slave masters beat us into
Mm,
submission. So therefore we oftentimes beat our children
mm,
and then our husbands beat us. I mean, and it's a learn that goes back to the learned behavior. And unless and until we are intentional about disrupting that and saying, hey, this is what you can do and what you can't do, it's going to keep on. And then this the frustration. The
but
frustration.
Jamie, okay, let me say this, and in no way am I arguing with you, right? In no
No,
way. And anyone, if you want to put your comment, put it in. But that, and you did the study, you studied it, so in no way am I not. That might contribute to it, but we talked about a learned behavior. Uh, you know, every black man ain't beating his black woman. So it's something that's going on, and he wasn't raised on the plantation. You see what I'm saying? Now, if great granddaddy beat granddaddy, and granddaddy beat daddy, and then daddy, fine, right? But sometimes it's a choice. We
oh,
have to acknowledge it's a choice.
now it's always a choice
Yeah.
because even if the person learned it, they
Mhm.
don't go to their jobs and beat people.
That's right. You don't beat your
So
boss when
so
he
thank
tells you
you.
something.
Yeah, so thank you for
Yeah.
bringing for lifting that because it is absolutely always a choice. Absolutely.
Now in no way I am not a domestic violence expert at all. I am not at all. I don't work with abusers, so the views and opinions, blah blah blah. But what I'm saying, I that is an interesting that's an interesting perspective, Jamie. But again, I'm not someone who has been abused. I need to talk to an abuser. Let's get in the mind of an abuser. That's why we have to get to the root.
That's
We got to get to the root,
that's
and we
correct.
have to solve the problem. That's another show right
Yeah,
there.
because that's
Yeah.
the thing. I mean, we what we're seeing, the abuse is
Hmm.
symptoms, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how I pay my bills and how, like, my I'm an analyst by trade. I have almost 20 years of, and it's like
Oh wow. Okay.
the whole, like, working together for my good.
Yeah.
Working together for our good. So so I've been trained to analyze. I never thought I'd be analyzing my butt being kicked.
Yeah. This.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
I'm taking the gifts because the Bible says it makes room for us. So
Yes. Yes.
when we
Yes.
analyze the issue and we ask the reason why, that those are some of the things, Dr. Don, that the intersections of domestic violence and racism, oppression,
Hmm.
we as women, period, black, white, it doesn't matter, not being paid as much as men, black men, the prison to was it educate
The pipeline. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, and I'm talking about it in the essence, in the vein of
Right.
the
Right. Right.
why, right? The root cause. Think about it like this: you have a convicted felon, comes out of prison,
Hmm.
never got therapy or whatever it was,
Oh no, not in
right?
prison.
Let him out.
Have they? Yeah.
Come on, this Joker then lifted weights, so
Hmm.
he's fine as all outside. On the outside, continued to be broken on the inside.
Mm.
Can't get find a job that
His
makes
parole officer is down on him. All of that. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
come along as a woman, specifically a black educated woman or a black woman, because we excel in education. These are
Oh
studies,
yeah.
these are stats, right? We're excelling educationally. We come along with our broken selves, and then we get together because we're gonna love him through that,
Oh yeah. We want to. We're nurturers. We. Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? And so the power and control, because he didn't have power control for however many years, because he was either locked up or not. I'm not saying everybody's locked up,
That's right.
but studies show it's the need for power and control that causes the abuse, right?
Yeah.
So this person has a need for power and control for whatever reason, and that right there, Dr. Don, that power and control. When we're talking about the African American and Black community, we've got to start to unpack that from a intersection of our culture in domestic violence. And
Mm.
that's what I'm that and one of the things that fell out of that for me really quick was the resources for the people that cause harm. And then now when we provide those resources
Hmm.
and you don't want to go,
Yeah.
then we're going to
Yeah.
start to push the criminal justice, all this other cancel culture things, that because you had a choice. You had a choice when you did it, then we gave you another choice to get healed, and you chose not to get healed. Well, brother, sister, that's on you at that point. And I say it's because it's going to take a collective
As a
approach,
community.
right?
Yeah.
Then we can't help you because you don't want to help yourself. I mean, and
Mm.
that's the approach. And I'm specifically talking about my community. I can't speak on anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I love the conversation we're having. People, whether you agree or not, this is the first conversation I've had with a survivor where it has went down this type of, we went down this talking about the abuser and addressing the abuser. I always talk to the survivor, but yeah, yeah. Now, let me ask you this. Good stuff, Jamie. Now, some Jamie, we know they leave their abuser. A year later, they're living their lives. They've got a new house. They've started over. He comes back and kills them. How did you know? Or comes back and acid attack, or comes back and a year later, 6 months later, you think you are. Oh, how long was it before you felt at peace? You felt safe. You felt like, you know what? Are you still in fear now? Maybe every now and then. Do you think he's going to come after you? I mean, because here you are on my show. He knows, okay, he sees her. I mean, if you follow Jamie, she's all over the place. News interviews, it's not hard. She's in Houston. She said it. Are you ever concerned? Oh my gosh, is he gonna come back?
Oh, I absolutely am.
Because
I,
how long ago was it? It was
when
only, it was a couple of years ago.
going on 3 years ago,
Three years ago.
and he still very much lives here in Houston that I know
Oh,
of.
he lives here too.
Yeah, yeah. So I moved. He
Oh,
lives here. I moved here from Dallas because he lived here. So he's very much, from my understanding, here in Houston. Here, so the peace part, I got the peace part as I started to, when I prayed, and the manifestation of my prayers came through Brene Brown, came through
oh yeah, yeah. I
therapy.
think I know that name. Yeah.
Yeah, it came through these tangible, came through my spiritual mother.
Mm,
Shout out to Mama O. So as the peace, I got it very quick.
okay.
The peace part, the fear, the being aware in the fear at times that, like, oh, is he gonna be upset, or if he's gonna, the beautiful king that I'm dating right now, his family was like, is this joker gonna, so
Yeah.
the,
Is he gonna come after us?
right. The
Yeah.
fear is always there. And so
Okay.
I move, I just don't let the fear stop me. I
Mm,
move in caution. I do certain, little things that help me, help me when I come home know that, and these are things that I learned from my therapist,
okay.
to help me know if somebody's touched my door, and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm always cognizant, right? However, Dr. Don, I'm very clear and I'm very at peace with, if he takes me out of here, he gonna take me out of here advocating. I was gonna
Mm,
either suffer in silence with
my
him kicking
goodness,
my butt, or I'm gonna run the risk of him knocking me
man.
out. But guess what? At least on Dr. Don's show, at least one of your viewers, one of your
Come
listeners
on.
will have the
Oh wow.
tools that he or she needs to live the abundant life that our creator said that we would do.
Wow.
So if I get,
Wow.
here's the reality. I have everybody has this date we were born, and the date will
Yeah.
eventually, the date we will transition.
Yeah.
We're in the dash, Dr. Don. I'm in
Yeah.
the,
Yeah. Yeah. What are we
so
doing in the
whatever,
dash?
I'm in the dash. So listen, Joker, take me out.
You
You
would
got,
die doing this. You would die if
thank you.
if it means your life. At least if you did this interview and somebody, or any interview, and somebody's blessed, somebody is healed, somebody leaves, or somebody learns how to help somebody out of it. You've done your job. Wow.
That's why
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I've been operating for the last two. Yeah,
My
since
goodness.
I
My
accidentally
God.
became an advocate. Absolutely,
Do you
yes,
have a restraining order against him,
lifetime.
or
Lifetime.
lifetime? Some of them don't. I heard an attorney say, this was years ago. She said restraining orders only work for people who follow the law.
Yeah.
Sometimes it only makes them more angry.
Yes.
You
Oh,
know.
and that's why every case is different.
Yeah.
You're right, and that's why we can't cookie cut safety plans and all that. Because yes, it will make them angry. Yeah,
Because
that.
Jamie, you may not need to be on a radio show yet. You may need, and we're not saying everybody. And before the show, Jamie, I was, talking about how this segment is coming up, and I said God may not have called you to be on the radio or to be on a TV show and talk about it, maybe, or write a book. Maybe you need to be a counselor one on one. Maybe God has called you to talk to a youth group about it. You know, everybody's story is different. And let's read this comment. Robert Brown says, "Speak your light."
That's the king that I'm dating.
Okay, hold on. Let me tell you a story. He DM'd me, and I'm like, "Who is this? Who is this?" Because I didn't recognize him because he has a baseball cap on, right? And he DM'd me, "I want to come on the show," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then he unsent it, and I said, "I bet that's her bae. I bet that's him." Yeah.
He's getting nervous because he's getting sucked into the vortex of
Uh,
shining his light too.
yeah.
When he met me,
Bless him. Bless him.
when
Yeah.
his light, he didn't know who I was or what I
Yeah.
did, and so I continue to tell him that people are going to want to hear from you, because it's not easy to love me at times,
Because
Dr.
I was thinking, how do you, because I've known people, they've gotten together, she just wasn't healed and it didn't work out. Um, so how do you love? Because I know, Jamie, it's not just, okay, some days, Jamie, you love her through that. And I met him. Very nice brother. Very nice brother. And let me tell you, it was raining, right? And he said, I always have to show her support no matter what. Amen to that. Let me tell y'all this little story. We got to lighten it up a little sometime, Jamie. We were at the award event, right? And Robert was, he had open the door for you. And I said, Robert, I didn't know his name was Robert at the time. I said, it's raining. Can you drive me to my car? Come on, y'all. What a gentleman he was, come on. And that's how I know Jamie's secure too. But where y'all going and how long you dropped her off at her car? All that foolishness. Honey, it was raining, honey. I don't want to get this hair wet. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, come on. When you know what you got is secure, you ain't worried about that. She knew the deal. Sister ain't getting her hair wet. Thank you, Robert. But but
family did raise him well. His mom is
good. Amen.
He has sisters. He is a solid brother.
Yeah, he was very nice. Does he have a brother?
He's the first grandson, and he is the only boy that his mom and dad has. So.
Okay. Single ladies, take the tip. You know somebody with a good man. Does he have a brother? Does he have a cousin?
Oh, Robert, RB, like you might want to bring him on the show. I mean, because he's a master barber, so he has a lot of clients. I don't know if they're married or not, but I mean,
Hey, I love relationship talk. And I would love to, if he's open, because everybody's not ready, because I do different love lounge shows, not just the regular topics, but I like to talk to couples who have God healed their marriage from infidelity. God healed, so how did he bring, because there's somebody who wants to date, maybe it's not time. It's not time to jump into a relationship. Or Robert, even if she is a good woman, are you ready to date a woman who has been abused? So I think it's a good conversation to have. Make sure you email me on that too, Jamie. You have some assignments. Robert says yes. Are you saying yes, Robert, to coming on the show with Jamie and y'all talking about it? Give me another yes. And Jamie, you work that out. You know how to get in contact with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just the abuse, Dr. Dawn. It's also the trauma from my childhood.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Because some men aren't patient, or they're like, what is going on? She's just moody. I can't deal. I'm breaking up with her. But you were open with him, right? You were open, and you have to be open. You can't close it in. Yeah. You can't, but you had to trust him to be able to share that, right?
Okay, I look forward to the
you had to trust him. Date one, you don't just, hey, this is what he may be like, wait a minute. We got to talk about that. He said they will always have to put in work, like I was willing to do. He was willing to put in the work. Wonderful. I tell you now, Jamie, and then look, so Jamie, we're going to be doing a Love Lounge show with you all when the time is right, when you all are available. I got my calendar, but I'm going to put that Love Lounge with Robert and with Jamie and Bay. And we're going to talk about it because people need to know love is not, people see you all. You would never think, sometimes you're going to have to, love is patient. Love is kind. Yeah. What does it say in the word of God? Love is not puffed up. Love doesn't have pride, right? Yeah.
You do have to put in the work. And I'm being reminded, I was like, wow, I thought I was on my healing journey. Mm-hmm. And having someone next to me that makes it very hard for me to play life small.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And supports you. 100%. I mean, he was blowing up my Facebook DM. Hey, who is this? Hey, and first I got excited. I didn't know who he was. I'm like, who's this cute brother up in my DM? Because usually I don't respond to these men. I said, oh, okay, that's Jay. He's got to be Jamie's boyfriend. Yeah. Hey, okay, Jamie, hold on. He says yes to the show. It's going to happen. We're going to talk about it. Good. Jamie, you know how to set that up. So we'll be setting that. So thank you, Robert, because, my goodness, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not always going to be everything's great. No. But if you love somebody, and he knows you're a woman of God, a good woman, you've been through some things, and they can help love you through that. And babe, did you go to therapy today? Babe, I'm sensing you had a bad day, and you kind of snapping at me a little bit, or you kind of, we're going to talk about all that. Why do I feel like having that conversation right now? Get him on the StreamYard. No, I'm kidding. We're going to do that later. Jamie?
But it's just testament of the work.
That is wonderful.
Like, there's hope. I think
there is.
Bring it back full circle, Dr. Dawn. is there is hope on the other side
Oh, yes.
of disappointment, of of violence. I mean, we didn't think about it. I mean, we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, but now the Houston Area Women's Center, I have the honor of serving on the board of directors for them and
Wonderful.
sitting at the table and sharing my lived experience. I have the honor of being loved by a super solid. Are either one of us perfect? Absolutely not.
Nobody is.
However,
Yeah.
super solid brother.
Yeah.
When I'm like, yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath. So there's hope. I
There
mean, hope
is.
for life, and it's just a bag of just farts sometimes, if I can say that on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
However, there's hope,
There
but we
is.
gotta
But
be
you
willing
have
to
to
give
be
the hope.
healed. Don't be trying to date and but that's a whole nother conversation, and that's what we're going to talk about. Robert says welcome, loving the show, more of this is needed. We're going to keep bringing it, because that's what we do here, and I love having these kind of conversations, man. I just, when I got my hand on my chin or I'm leaned back, I already know, my goodness, Jamie, this is the kind of stuff that we have to talk about. God, I don't know what you're going to do with what this show is doing, but but God, do it. Do it. Enlarge all of our territories so we can do more and be more for you. Maybe Robert, we don't know what God is going to use him for. We don't know what God is going to use you for, Jamie. But my goodness. Now, as we end this segment, because Jamie's got to take her wrap off. Look, it's been a long day. I know that wrap is tight and you ready to get out of there. Am I right?
Right.
Let's be honest, sisters. When I get home, I'm taking off this hair and I'm putting on a bonnet. And we got. I know, Jamie. I'm on the radio another 2 hours. So come on. Let me read some of these comments. Powerful, honest conversation of healing, overcoming, transparency, and hope. Thank you, Katie Parks Bradshaw. Robert says, Amen. And last but not least, one of your BFFs, Thesia Jenkins. Hey, Thesia, we talked about you before we came on the air. I said, Thesia said on my Facebook Live, I love her. Good people know good people. And she said good things about you too. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that lady.
I'm telling you, and Thesia is putting in the work. What a compliment. My goodness. Now, good people, I'm telling you. Now, as we wrap up this beautiful segment, I tell you, what do you want to say to us, Jamie? What do you want? What wake up call? Maybe you want to talk about how law enforcement, how are they in this? Are they getting better at it? Are they doing the best they can? Are you all having more dialogue with them to help them as well, help survivors? Whatever you want to say to end this, and then make sure you give us your contact information, sister.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Don, for having me on your show.
Thank you for being here. I'm telling you.
Thank you for the work that you're doing, sister. I really, really mean that. In terms of law enforcement, I have the honor of working alongside Tisha as a part of
Yes, she does. I love that.
and just going to speak to law enforcement personnel. So I would just share with them, keep doing the hard work, know that I'm out here in the community. So hopefully you don't have to respond to so
Yeah.
many domestic violence calls because studies show that domestic violence calls increase the chances of a law enforcement person being
Yeah.
killed or harmed.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you're doing. What I would leave your audience with is safety plan.
Hmm.
If you are someone that's experiencing violence right now, reach out to the hotlines. Know that you're not alone. Create a safety plan.
And
And
people, you need to be, and excuse me, Jamie, take a screenshot of this right now. Take a screenshot of this right now. Or people, you need to be watching the replay and make sure you get the number. That's okay. Go ahead, Jamie.
yeah, and so that's for the survivor. You got this, sis. You got this, brother. For the person that finds themselves causing harm, know that your lives matter too. Get help.
Yeah.
You deserve it. You deserve to live a life that's free of violence. You deserve to understand why you treat the person that you love in a harmful way.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, I bet you once you do the work, you'll find out why, and then you'll change the behavior and you'll live a beautiful life that you're deserving of.
Mm,
And I know it for certain. I'm gonna hold on to that hope. Again, that's
yes.
it. I'm on all social media
Yeah.
as Jamie R. Wright, and that's JamieRWright. I have a website, JamieRWright.com. And yeah, I'm scooting and booting through Houston, so
Yes, she is.
yeah, yeah, that you can reach me at those platforms, or anytime that there's something in the community that's going on that's violence related or just uplifting our community. I try my very best to be there. So thank you again, Dr.
I'm,
Green.
I'm telling you, Jamie R. Wright is right on time. Uh, come on, Jamie. The R stands for right on time. I look forward to having you and Robert on the show in the near future for a Love Lounge conversation, another honest conversation. I love talking relationships, but sometimes we got to talk ugly, not all that other stuff. We got to talk about what people are really dealing with. Yeah, they look good, but but do you trust them to share that with them yet? And then how they respond, it's just Jamie. We got all that. That's a whole
Let's go.
nother
Let's
show.
go.
I'm
Let's break.
telling you,
Let's
we're
break.
gonna do it, Jamie. We're gonna do that. So you have that, and then Kay. What's his name?
K. Scott.
Yeah, that's two assignments. So you got some work to do for the
Yes,
Dr.
ma'am.
John Show. Look, I love when I interview guests, and then there's like five more shows from one guest that I can.
The
We got
Bible
for you.
says be fruitful, and it ain't just making babies. Be fruitful and multiply. Multiply this healing, Dr.
Come
Don.
on, we got to multiply because these conversations are important. Jamie, I want to say God bless you, girl. Much love to you. Go
Right.
take that head wrap off.
Yes.
Go to bed. Let me end the broadcast. Make sure you remove yourself. Don't be taking it off before you remove the broadcast. But that's your business. We beautiful no matter what, right? Thank you, Jamie. God bless you, girl.
All right. Bye.